Great. All right. Sorry about the tech problems, but we're good to roll now. Today's presentation is going to be passwords without the headache. For those of you who know me, which I see a lot of familiar faces in the room, we're Senior Tech Foundation. We're here every Sunday for tech help. If it's not me you're seeing, it's one of our other student mentors, either my brother, Sean, or some of our other familiar faces, JJ Tyson, that you might have encountered. So thank you everyone for being here today, and our goal is to just teach about passwords, how to make these pesky things easier and safer. So, if they have a room for me, I'll stay here. I'll join you guys. Okay, so we are going to start off with just my usual disclaimer. Feel free to raise hands, comments, questions. I want to hear it all. I like to say, this is not going to be a boring lecture, right? Let's make it a conversation. But we're going to start off with a quick show of hands. So I want everyone in this room to either raise your hand if you have forgotten a password before. I know I have, right? What about using the same password on multiple websites? Who's guilty of that crime? Yep. What about having to reset a password recently? Yeah, almost everyone, right? And all of these things have the same issue in common for being that they're really common and they happen to everyone. And it, wastes your time. It's something that you might want to simplify in your life, right? So we're gonna learn about how to tackle that. So I like to call this the password problem. So this is a big issue. A lot of people reuse their passwords, and what that means is it interferes with your safety, with your account safety. People use passwords for email, banking, Amazon, Facebook. It could be your streaming services or medical portals. A lot of this information is sensitive, or it might contain financial information, so you need to secure these accounts, right? So I'm gonna start off with a quick little, I just gave it away. Oops, sorry guys. Hopefully you didn't see that. But I'm gonna start off with a question. How many passwords would you guess that the average person has? For those of you who didn't see the answer. 25, okay. 50, 75, okay. Yeah, so the average person has about 70 to 100 online accounts. So 70 to 100 online accounts is the average amount. So that's 70 to 100 passwords. That's a lot of passwords to remember, right? So think about all the places that you log in your daily life and all the individual passwords that are there. A lot of people store their passwords in different places. Let's talk a little bit about that. Who here uses a password manager? Anybody? I see some people. Who writes down their passwords? Old school, but it works, right? Anyone else? Where do you put your passwords? I've seen them in cookbooks. I've seen them in address books. I've seen them on sticky notes all over. Yeah, it could be anywhere. The desk, yep. Password journal. Okay, you got a separate journal for passwords.
It's sold specifically for that.
Okay, sold. Okay, so you could buy it at the store. Very cool. So, yeah, this is 70 to 100 separate online accounts, different passwords that you need to have for everything. I will be direct. If you're using the same password for all 70 of your 100 online accounts, you got a lot of homework to do. You got to change all those passwords, and we'll talk a little bit more about that in the next couple of slides. But we're gonna talk about the honest password slide. So we mentioned a little bit about where people keep their passwords. Do you feel safe where you're keeping your password right now? Does anybody do you feel safe keeping your passwords? Why? Why do you feel safe? I'm just curious.
I have a book that I've been using for a long time.
Yeah, you have
pencils that I keep changing it.
Yeah, and you probably keep it in a secure location, right? For me, I feel safe writing down my passwords as well. I like to do the traditional route, right? Pen and paper. A lot of people use password managers too. That feels safe for them. So what you should know is where you keep your passwords, and this really is important for people who feel like they might not be keeping their passwords in a safe place, and what we can do to change that is what we're going to talk about in the next couple slides. So let's talk a little bit about passwords getting stolen. So how does this happen? A lot of people guess it might be hackers, clicking away at a computer, or sending you viruses, and that's how they get stolen. But that is not true. So, plain and simple, your passwords get stolen a lot of the time just with a quick guess. These criminals are guessing your passwords, right? Anybody want to take a guess at what makes it easy for them to guess your password?
I'm sorry,
What makes it easy for a criminal to guess your password?
If it's related to your name or your address.
Yeah, if it's an easy password, right? If it's something they could quickly guess just based on some public or personal information about you that they can find on the internet, that's an easy password for them, right? That means they have to do less homework, they use less technology tools that have to crack your password, right? Then we have number 2, we have data breaches. Data breaches are when your information is stored with, companies, or for instance, streaming services, Netflix, they sometimes get hacked, right? That means all your passwords, all your information gets breached, and that means stolen, and they might have access to these large banks of passwords from tons of people. So that's a way passwords get stolen. And then we have the 3rd, which is phishing. Phishing with a P. So what this means is these criminals or scammers will send you email links or text message links, and what they're hoping on is for you to click on one of those links, and you might be thinking, hey, I'm just trying to log into my bank, right? This is BECU sending me an email. I'm about to log into my account and check for my statement. But it's a fake BECU account email, and you're gonna enter in your username, you're gonna enter in your password, and they stole it after that, right? So that's what phishing is. Any questions on the slide?
When you were very young, you guys, you and your siblings and everybody saved me from the phishing.
Yeah, it's education, right? We should be aware and know about what phishing is.
I didn't want to really educate everybody else, but
Yeah.
I did.
And this is very, very common. I would say the average person probably receives at least one phishing email or text a day. That's what I see. Who thinks that's true? Do you get more than one? I get more than one. So this is a very common thing, right? And all it takes is one little click, and they could potentially get into your life and infiltrate it, right? So it's being aware about that. Okay, so, yeah. Oh yeah, you have to change all of your passwords. You probably have to freeze your credit if it was your bank account, or all these things, right? So the goal is for that to not happen. A way that we can stop that from happening is to not have weak passwords or common passwords. So hackers use computers or programs that can try millions to billions of password guesses per second. So that is a lot of attempts, right? Back in the day, they would have to sit there, type into their computer and guess, but it takes some seconds to guess millions to billions now. So if your password is 123456, or if it's the word password, or if it's any of your pets' names or birthdays, they can guess that in seconds, right? Maybe even less than a second. So we're gonna play a hacker reality check game. I want you guys to guess, how long do you think this password is gonna last? Dog 123. 1 second. Okay, that answer is under a second. This takes less than a second for that program to guess. So you don't want your password to look like dog 123, right? So that's what we're gonna talk about. We're going to talk about specifically how to create a strong password, but I wanted to elaborate a little bit about data breaches before this, just to talk more on that subject. You want to avoid opening these data breaches or clicking on suspicious links, downloading unknown files, right? So you should know where your information is going and who's getting access to passwords, what links you're clicking on, right? Things like that. And don't just download everything that comes in your email, right? Like make sure it's coming from a reliable source, because sometimes those PDFs people are sending you could be corrupted files, right? And infect your device. So if you ever get that gut feeling, or you're questioning, hey, maybe this doesn't look right, or I don't know who's sending this to me, I would suggest to not click on it, right? It's better to be safe than sorry. Any questions? Go ahead.
How does my
So where does it come from when I see something saying,
I'll repeat the question. Go ahead, Jay.
it tells me it's suspicious?
It tells you it's suspicious in your email?
Somebody else is making that decision, not just me.
Oh, somebody else is making that decision. So in your email, it says suspicious activity detected or something like that? Is that what you're trying to say?
It's mostly phone numbers.
Phone numbers, okay. Do you mean spam? Is that what you're talking about, spam calls? Yeah. Okay, yeah, so a lot of the new technology these days for phone calls at least, and sometimes in email, it will say spam detected or something like that. Has anyone seen those messages when they get a call? Yep, so that's a common thing. If you see that, that should be your signal to hang up, you know, don't answer that because that is almost guaranteed to be a scam. Go ahead, Jay.
I don't know why, but sometimes when I click delete, it'll just delete. Other times it'll say, you want just delete or delete and label it as
Spam, yep. So there's typically two options when you try to delete a message. It's delete or delete and report as spam. Either way works. I like to click delete and report just because I don't want more people to encounter the problem and I like to flag it. But deleting works just the same. Okay, so moving forward into phishing. So big disclaimer, real companies are not gonna ask you for your password through an email link, right? So if you get a email from, you know, one of your, let's just use Netflix as an example. If you get an email from Netflix, they're not gonna ask you for your password through an email link. They typically want you to log into your account directly on their website and then fix things through there. So please do not trust that just because they can replicate these sites very easily. They can make it look fake, they can slap logos on it, and it's gonna be really hard for anyone to tell the difference. So always log into your account directly. Go through Google, Safari, maybe the app on your phone, whatever works for you. Go ahead.
I've heard that if you answer telephone and all you have is the telephone number, that they know then you're alive. But it could also be your medical nurse using her own telephone and you don't have knowledge of what her number is.
Yeah, so I don't recommend picking up these spam calls or unknown number calls. If it is someone important who's trying to contact you, they're gonna leave you a voicemail, they're gonna send you an email, maybe send you a text message. If they are not doing that, you know, it's not gonna be an official channel, right? Anytime I get a call from the doctor's office, they always leave me a voicemail if I miss the call. And the first thing they do is they identify who they are. They say, hey, you know, I'm so-and-so from Valley Medical calling, and they typically don't ever do so on their personal cell. I think that's, you know, like a HIPAA violation or something like that. I'm not the expert, don't quote me on that, but typically it should be maybe a phone number that you consistently get from your doctor's office. So maybe saving those numbers would make it helpful too. If you know that, hey, this is the phone number I get a call from every single time they're calling about my appointment, I would just save that as a contact and just type in doctor's office. That way it pops up every time. But good question. Okay, so I'm gonna show an example of a phishing email that's trying to steal your password. So this is a fake one, right? But this is what it can kind of look like. They can look really realistic, but typically, you know, it's gonna have the email on the top that says, you know, bank support, Citibank, securemygateway.com, whatever it might be. It's gonna say in the subject line, something scary, suspicious activity, you know, anything flashy. Sometimes it's in all caps. What they're trying to do is get that fear response for you, right? Get you worried. They're gonna throw an official logo on it. They copied and pasted from Google somewhere. And then they're gonna get you with, we've identified suspicious activity on your account. To secure your account, please click the link below to confirm your identity. So they're scaring you, saying there's suspicious activity and that you need to check what's going on. They're throwing the link down there and all they're hoping is for you to click there and log into your account. And then once you do that, they have access to your account, right? So this is what a phishing email looks like. Does anybody want to tell me the proper steps of what to do if you get an email like this? What do you do? Delete the email, yes. Something I would do is I would log into my Citibank account on my phone, or I would go to citibank.com and log into my account through there. I would not click on this link, even if I'm 99.9% sure that this is the official Citibank contacting me. I still would log in through either the app on my phone or the website, just because it's better to be safe than sorry. In the off chance I missed a sign that this was a scam and I clicked on the link, you can't really do anything at that point. Jay, I saw you with your hand up.
Yeah, I'm wondering, when you get repeated ads and it tells you to say unsubscribe or stop, is this a phishing thing?
So unsubscribe is from targeted, it's called targeted marketing. So unfortunately, when you go shopping, and all these places have rewards accounts, right, that you sign up for and you get points. Well, the reason they ask for you to put your phone number in or your email in is so they can send you all these messages, and you cannot opt out of their marketing messages unless you say unsubscribe. And usually, has anyone unsubscribed? They make it a whole process to unsubscribe. Sometimes they're even going to throw a survey in there saying, why did you leave us? And you have to go through that and do that whole process. So they're making it tricky on purpose. They don't want you to unsubscribe, but that is not always, it's called spam, it's just the junk, but it's not necessarily always a scam. It could be from an official, Safeway could be sending it to you. I would just recommend unsubscribing if you don't want to see it. Stop, I haven't seen it just stop anytime I hit stop or delete. Usually I always have to go through that process of unsubscribing, or I block them. So that's another strategy. Good question, Jay. Go ahead.
Going back to Citibank, if there was a legitimate reason they needed to reach you, how would they go about, how would it look different?
Yeah, good question. If there was a legitimate reason that they needed to reach you, it could look just like this, but you would see this same message when you log into your account, right? Or they would call you, for instance, if you are familiar with, someone at their branch and you have a relationship with them, they're either gonna email you through an encrypted safe email, identifying who they are, all these details, not asking you for any passwords or anything. If someone from a bank is asking you for your password, there's something wrong, right? A lot of the time they call you. It's a little less common now with all the technology, but if you have something going on, it's not just gonna disappear when you delete the email. It's gonna be in your account, right? Good question though, Brent. Any more questions before, go ahead.
So again, if you just click that, but then they ask for more stuff, you don't do it, can you still be in trouble
Just from clicking it, yes. Because sometimes if you click on it, it could just be a virus, right? It could be downloading something potentially harmful. They call it malware. So what happens is this malware infects your device, and then you start getting all these pop-ups, your screen freezes, maybe they start moving your mouse around and going on places on your computer that you're not touching. So you just don't want to take the risk, even if you don't put in your account information. But that's a really good question. Okay, any more questions before I move forward? All right, it's really warm in here. It's warm and toasty. Okay. All right, so let's talk about a strong versus a weak password. So what makes a strong password? It needs to have a mixture of letters. So this means uppercase and lowercase letters, right? It needs a mixture of numbers, random numbers thrown out there. Random words are also helpful, and it needs to have a special character. So a lot of time when you're creating a password, these requirements are typically, listed underneath, right? They tell you, hey, this needs to have uppercase, lowercase letters, and a special character. So that's a lot of the time it tells you, sometimes it doesn't, but you should always make sure your password has a mixture of all of these requirements, right? So a trick that I like to use for this is called the passphrase method. It's really hard to remember a bunch of jumbled up letters, numbers, all of that, right? Also, if you're writing down your passwords, you don't want to, type that in slowly and have to double check on your keyboard and your notes over and over again. And all the capitals, and if you mess up and forget a letter or a number or an exclamation point, that's a lot of work. So I like to use this trick called the passphrase method to create a strong password. So instead of using a bunch of random characters, although that may be the safest method, you can use a phrase with multiple words, with letters, with numbers, and a special character. So I'm gonna give some examples, and then I want people to tell me how to make them stronger, how to make it a strong password. So we have Purple Rain Coffee Seattle, exclamation point. So this is a passphrase. How do I make this stronger? Any guesses? Go ahead.
You could take the caps out of a couple of the words.
Mm-hmm.
And then throw in a number and a character.
Yeah, throw in maybe some more characters, throw in some numbers, and maybe
Or misspell coffee.
misspell coffee. Yeah, change it up a little bit, make it less predictable. That's a good one. What about my cat loves pizza at night? Question mark. What about this one? How do we make it stronger?
Make it shorter.
Shorter does not mean better, right? Longer passwords mean it takes.
That's just one suggestion.
Yeah, you could make it shorter if you make it really complex, right? Typically you want at least 10 to 12 characters in your password. So longer password's always gonna be safer, because think about it, when these hackers are running it through their programs that take a second to guess, if it's longer, it's gonna take them a lot longer to crack your password, right? So the way I would make this stronger is I would add, letters, I would add more special characters, and I would maybe misspell some of the words, right? Maybe spell pizza without an I, or spell cat with a K, just a couple of little things to change it up. But I could still remember this pretty easily, right? Okay, what about green boots and tea? What about this one? Same thing, right? We do the same methods to all of these, and it makes it a little bit easier to remember your passwords if that's something you struggle with and you don't save them online. For those people who keep them in a notebook, this is always what I recommend. A little trick on if you can't just come up with random things like my cat loves pizza at night, I like to do this method where I pick an object in the room. For instance, I would pick, piano, and then I find a color somewhere else in the room, brown, and then I'll type brown piano, and then I'll think of a random word or adjective and add that, and then add a random series of numbers. I do not add the year I graduated or the year I was born or, things like that. So yeah, make sure it's really random numbers, but that's a little trick, is just look around your room and try to think of something, right? Okay. We're gonna play the password guessing game. So guess if this password is strong or weak. We have piano snow, blue lake, 2789, exclamation point. This is good, right? Good, yes, no. Thumbs up, thumbs down. Okay, I see a mixture in this room. This is actually a safe password. Is it the safest? No, but is it a lot better than dog123? Yes. So this is it's a good stepping stone, right? And if this is what you can do to change your passwords, I say go for it. Okay, now we have the biggest password mistake. So this is called the domino effect. Using one password everywhere or for multiple accounts. It's called the domino effect because if a criminal gets their hand on one password, then it tips over all the rest of the dominoes, which means they have access to all your accounts, right? They have access to all your passwords because it's the same one. So this is the biggest mistake you could make. You could have a password that's blue lake snow, 2789 exclamation point, and it may not be the most secure out there, but it's a lot better than having the same password everywhere, right? So this is something I highly, highly suggest people to fix. If they have the same password everywhere, please go into your accounts and change those passwords and make sure that you're not reusing the same ones. Also, do not reuse compromised passwords.
I'm sorry.
Oh, did I cut out? Oh, okay, no worries. Please do not reuse compromised passwords. What this means is passwords get leaked over time, right? These criminals keep guessing common passwords and they get caught. So, right, if these passwords that are commonly used, they get a hold of them and then you end up using it for your account, it's in their program and computer system that guesses in seconds. So you can go online, there's databases that will tell you which passwords got leaked or not. So I recommend going on one of those and double checking if you really need to. Or if you have a password manager system, which there's free ones on your phone that are built in, regardless of if you have an Android or an Apple phone, there's a free one built in and it will tell you if your passwords have been compromised. Go ahead.
Is there a problem using simple and the same password for those accounts that are somewhat meaningless, like my golf handicap or other things that don't relate to anything?
Yeah, you know, that's a good question. Do I really need a complex password for something that doesn't have any important information? I still would suggest having it be, you know, not the easiest to guess, like dog123 or password, but it doesn't have to be anything crazy. You know, you could use that passphrase method. It could be like blue chair, you know, a couple random numbers.
But if I use that same password for half a dozen things that don't seem to matter, what goes wrong and can go wrong?
I wouldn't suggest it just in general because you never know, right? We don't know what kind of information they potentially could get their hands on. And what if you used your credit card at some point and you just don't remember? Things can happen, right? So I would suggest not putting that as a habit, right? If you have the habit of reusing the same password, it might happen. Yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah.
But because it seems like in my case, at least a fair number of times, I'm not home.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't have my little stored passwords available.
Yeah.
What to do about it, yeah.
I'm not going to remember half a dozen long passwords.
Yes, so there's actually a trick to doing that, and we're going to be talking about that on the next slide. For those of you who don't have a way to see your passwords at home all the time, you can have it in your phone with you constantly. There's apps that are in your phone, free, completely free. What kind of phone do you have? An Apple, Android? If you have an Apple phone, there is an app called Passwords. And this is free for all Apple users. If you have an Android and you're in the Google system, I believe Google has their own, I think it's called Passwords, or the word might be a little bit different, It might be Google Password Manager, something like that. And you can put in your passwords right in there. So you could type in the name of the website, for instance, Costco, and then you type in your password, and then it's a list of all your passwords, and it's secure. It takes your Face ID, or maybe you have a PIN on it, and no one else can access that password manager except for you. So that's a free solution for those of you who don't want to pay for those, you know, official password managers that cost maybe $20 a month or whatever it might be. This is a good way of protecting yourself and always having your passwords with you if you're traveling.
What's it called on Apple?
Passwords. So if you type in passwords on your phone, it should pop up, and I'll be here afterwards if you need any help finding it. Another thing is you can download it if for some reason you don't have it. Usually it should be on your phone automatically, but I can help with that process afterwards.
And that's considered quite safe?
So it's a lot safer. You know, no password managing system is perfect. You know, they get breached, there's compromises, but they have security for that. When your phone is being updated, software update, everyone has seen that annoying notifications that they might have ignored 10 times until your phone doesn't let you ignore it. So that normally fixes those little bugs or those security problems, and they'll update it to make it stronger. No password system is 100% safe, right? So you have to do the best you can in making sure that your passwords are strong, and then a little bit of luck goes into it too, hoping nothing bad happens and things don't get compromised. But that's a good question. So password managers, letting technology remember for you. Like I mentioned, built-in password managers, the Google and Apple password managers. So that's what it's called. It's called Google Password Manager for those of you who have Androids. For Apple, it's called Passwords, plain and simple. And there's also dedicated password managers. And these are what I was talking about. You might have heard of it. Bitwarden, Dashlane, 1Pass. There's so many out there. These work across all your devices. They have stronger security tools than the Google and the Apple ones. They offer breach monitoring, so they'll notify you if there's any security breaches or if someone might have access to your account or they have your password or something like that. And they also allow password sharing safely. So let's say you have a family member who might need to get into one of your accounts, needs that password. They have a way for you to share that in a safe manner. Any questions?
Is there a charge for that?
So typically for these dedicated password managers, there are monthly fees, or you could buy a yearly subscription. And I would recommend doing your research to see what works for you if that's what you want to go for. If not, use the one that you have built in, right? It's better than nothing in my opinion. Okay, and now we have another way to protect yourself and make your logging into your accounts safer. It's called two-factor authentication, or 2FA. Who here knows about this? Yes, quite a few people in the room. So I'll try to break down two-factor authentication the best I can. So we're going to do a simple analogy. Your password that you might typically have to type in is your first lock, right? If a criminal is trying to break into your house, your password is the first lock. 2FA, two-factor authentication, is a second lock on your door, right? It's another safety measure so they can't get in. Maybe they have that key for that first lock, but that second lock prevents them from really being able to access it, right? So 2FA makes it so if even someone steals your password, they cannot log in without a code. So who here has gotten a 2FA code before? It's usually a text message or an email code. Normally a couple of digits, maybe 4 digits or 5 digits, whatever it might be. And what's something about these codes that makes them safe? Does anyone want to take a guess? They're temporary codes, right? It always says this code is going to disappear after, a minute or 5 minutes or 30 seconds, right? Whatever the time crunch may be. So this code is not just out there for a while. They constantly refresh them. Every single time you try to log in, it's a new code, right? This is another safety measure that's good because even if this criminal gets a hand on one of your codes, they won't be able to ever do it again, right? Sorry, it's a little hot in here, so I'm getting a little, yeah. I hope everyone else is doing good in the audience. Okay, so let's move on to showing how the system of 2FA works, what you're gonna do. And this is a little diagram, a cute little cartoon diagram to try to make it seem a little more simplified. First step is going to be logging into your account, right? You're gonna type in your username, you're gonna type in your password. Then the website or whatever account you're trying to sign in is going to send you a code to either your phone or your email. And it's going to look like this. It's going to pop up. And what you're going to do is you're going to type this code into the screen. And that's it. Once you type in that code, you'll be able to get into your account. So that's how 2FA works. Any questions? Okay. Where to turn on 2FA? So I highly, highly recommend having 2FA on your email, on your banking, on your Apple ID or your Google account, and Facebook or social media accounts. So does anybody want to take a guess at why it's important for your email? Anybody want to take a guess? Why does 2FA matter for your email? It controls all your password resets. If someone gets into your email, they can pretend to be you. They can send emails to family, to businesses, to anybody they want, pretending to be you. Also, when you log in places, your email is where you reset your password if you forget it. They can reset all of your passwords, right? If they're in your email. So you want to make sure your email is very secure and you have 2FA on it, right? As that second level of protection. So if that's something that you want help with doing, more than happy to talk a little bit about it after the presentation with you, or feel free to sign up on Sunday. Say, hey, I want to make sure 2FA is on my banking, my email. We will help you with that. So that's something that you can do. Also, why is it important for it to be on your social media? Anybody want to take a guess? This is something more new that's happening. Anybody want to take a guess? on social media. It could be Facebook, it could be anything like that. So what's happening is these criminals who are trying to get into your accounts are hacking into people's social media accounts. Then they message your family or they start posting things on your social media without your consent, right? They can ask family members or friends for money, pretending to be you in a crisis. This is very, very common. Nowadays with AI, they can generate fake videos or audio recordings or pictures pretending to be you, you know, asking for money or anything. So it's very, very important to make sure that's safeguarded because that is, you know, that's you, right? Essentially, they're pretending to be you, and that has a lot of bad implications. So I like to make sure people understand that about social media, especially in the AI age, right? It's scary. So if we can protect ourselves, for those of you who do have social media, that's something that you should do. Okay, any questions before the next slide? Okay, now we're gonna play a game. It's called Safe or Not Safe. I'm gonna ask you what you think is safe, and you're gonna tell me if it's safe or not. Simple as that. Okay, writing passwords in a notebook at home. Safe or not safe? Safe, not so safe. I heard a mixture. So I'm gonna call this safe, but you wanna make sure that notebook is not right next to your computer, right? You wanna make sure that notebook is not sitting right there for those robbers, those criminals, whoever it might be, for them to just type it right into your account. So put it in a safe, put it in a hidden location. At the very least, don't have it on your desk right next to your device, right? So that's a little strategy. Okay, safe or not safe, using the same password more than once. Not safe, yes. Thanks for listening, guys. Not safe, this is not safe at all. Don't use the same password more than once, right? We wanna switch it up. Clicking login links from emails. This is not safe, right? We don't want to take that risk. We want to sign into our account through an app or through the website directly. Okay. Using a password manager. Safe or not safe?
Safe.
Safe, yes. Safe, but not 100% perfect, right? Nothing's perfect in this world. So this is what you can do to be a lot safer, though. So. Now some safety tips to summarize. Number one tip, never reuse your passwords. Number 2, use a password manager. Number 3, turn on two-factor authentication, you know, on your banking, on your email especially, and social media, and other accounts that you might consider important, medical, things like that. Number 4, never click login links from suspicious emails. That's a really big one. There's tons of these these days, especially in this building. Unfortunately, we've had to deal with a lot of scam attempts or encounters that have happened, and people have lost money over it, right? Or they've had to get their devices completely cleaned up because there was viruses on them. So please, please be very careful. And then number 5, a lot of people don't know about this one, keep things updated on your device. So when you see it say update needed or software update needed, whatever the terminology might be, you don't want to ignore that forever, right? It's okay if you ignore it for a couple of days. Everyone's guilty of that. Just make sure you don't wait, you know, weeks or months, right? Keep things updated because that fixes those security breaches. And that is all. Thank you everyone for listening. I'll be here for a little bit of Q&A. Of course, we have a website, phone number, email up here, but we're always at the lower level, the sign-up sheet. Feel free to grab that anytime, and you'll get 30 minutes with us all to yourselves. All right, thank you everyone. Any questions? Yeah, go ahead.
I need to know in more detail about how you work with a manager. Because
What kind of manager?
Like a password manager. Yeah, so sign up for a time slot on Sunday whenever you get a chance. And what we can do is we'll put a password manager, and you could sit there and and we'll teach you how to use it, and you can add some passwords to it and experiment, and that's how you learn how to use one. It's all practice, right? You're not just, I could throw on a tutorial of how to use one on the screen, but I guarantee you that information you're gonna forget how to do it right when you leave, right? The best way to do it is to practice, and we can help with that.
Something associated with that, if you use a password manager, does it still matter having different passwords for different?
Yes.
So
They actually, your password manager will enforce that. They won't let you reuse the same password.
I have a lot of work to do.
Yes. It's okay. We got homework to do.
Oh, boy.
Yeah. All right, Brent.
Yeah, when I go to a new site and it says create a password, often my computer will suggest a strong password.
Yes.
And it looks very strong, so I'll say, use that, but I don't write it down, so I could never find it again.
Very common. Very common.
So is that wrong? What should I do? Should I have created my own password and write it down?
Wonderful question. So that actually means you are already using a password manager. I'm assuming this is on Google, right? Do you use Google?
It's just on my MacBook.
On your MacBook? Okay, then it's built into your computer. You're probably using the Passwords app. It's built into your computer and your phone because that's how Apple works, right? So that means all your passwords are stored in there, and they didn't just disappear, although you might not remember them because they're a bunch of gibberish, but there is a way to find them, and I can show you where to go for that. So, yep. Yeah. So they didn't magically disappear, everyone. You can find them. But yeah, good question. Anyone else? Go ahead.
Mine are not all the same, but I use the same theme.
Okay. What's the same theme? Is it family, anything?
No.
Okay.
Activity.
Activity. That's okay. If it's, you know,
In it, I include my age.
Oh.
So I say, no blah, 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 at 97 exclamation mark. So then when I change it to 88.
yeah, so that I would not include your age or, you know, your date of birth, year you were born, any of that, just because that's not the safest. But
When you're changing it,
I don't know. I think keep it completely separate to any personal information about you. Activities are totally fine, especially if it's the same. I could make a million different passwords about pickleball, right? That makes it safe. It wouldn't make it safe if it's, you know, all my passwords are about pickleball and the year I was born, right? It's a little easier for them to guess just with some information off of you. Okay, any more questions before I let you go out of this hot room? Yeah, okay. Well, thank you, everyone, and appreciate it.